and that you can also see my screen, okay? So I want us to recap just a little bit on hypertension, okay? Now, I realized that I haven't spoken about this, or if I have, I've probably forgotten. Now, hypertension has two types, okay? So the first type is the primary hypertension, or what we call essential hypertension, okay? So this is majorly due to lifestyle choices, okay? So too much salt, obesity, lack of physical activity, smoking, alcohol, high sugar diets, etc. Okay, so this is basically leads to plaque buildup, which is what I explained the very first time that we met each other. Okay, so primary hypertension accounts for 95% of all the hypertension cases we have in the world today. Okay, and the other 5% is secondary. So it's either due to some form of medical condition or a disease that if you treat, your hypertension would go away, okay? So things like kidney diseases, liver failure, gastritis, etc. So sometimes when you are sick, you find out that your blood pressure increases, okay? So even if you have like a simple malaria and your blood pressure increases, it's completely normal. All right, so this 5%, this secondary hypertension accounts for 5% of all the hypertension cases we have. So if you treat the disease, the hypertension is gone. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly recap on that. So for our topic today, on fasting, okay? So first, we have two major types of fasting for hypertensive patients, okay? So the first one is intermittent fasting. Now you are basically fasting for a period of time every day or every week, okay? Now this type of fasting has different types, okay? So we have time restricted intermittent fasting. So you have set times for eating. So you can fast for 16 hours and eat during, for a period of 8 hours. Not that you can see me, but no audio. Is that true for everyone? Can you see me and you can't hear me? I hope I've not been talking to myself. Or is it that your audio is not connected? Could anyone hear me at all? Because do I have to log up Zoom and come back? Because I think everything is fine on my. Okay. Okay, my apologies for the distraction, okay? So let's continue. So time restricted fasting, basically you are fasting for 16 hours. So probably when you sleep after dinner the next day, probably you don't eat your breakfast, okay? Or you do eat breakfast, but then you eat breakfast and then you skip lunch, okay? So basically you are fasting for 16 hours or you are fasting for 14 hours and you eat for either 8 or 10, okay? So this type of fasting would really help those who are fasting for the first time or those who are trying intermittent fasting for the very first time, okay? Now, intermittent fasting, we also have twice a week. So you can eat regularly or the way you eat for 5 days a week. okay? And the other 2 days, you don't eat at all, okay? Now, the thing is, whichever day that you choose, let's say you want to fast Monday, you're not going to fast on Tuesday. You want to fast Wednesday, you're not going to fast on Thursday. So as long as there is a non-fasting day in between, you're good to go. And you also have to make sure that you eat the same amount of food you would eat on your non-fasting days. So if I don't fast on Monday and I eat 3 times a day on Monday, on Wednesday, when I'm eating, I'm also going to eat 3 times a day, okay? So that's it for the twice a week intermittent fasting. So the other way of fasting is the alternate day, which is one off, okay? Now for this type of fasting, it's very similar to the twice a week type of fasting. Now for twice a week, your fasting days are only 2 times that week and you eat for the remaining 5, okay? Your alternate day is going to be one off, okay? And the other difference is for your twice a week fasting, when you are eating 5 times that week, and you have to make sure that you eat the same amount of food. In alternate day, your food intake should not pass 500 calories, okay? So I hope that we understand, which it's quite small compared to the amount of calories that a normal adult should be getting every day. So if you are fasting alternate day, if you are using this form of intermittent fasting, then you have to make sure that your calorie intake is no more than 500 calories, okay? So let's move on, the 24-hour fast. So this basically means that you are fasting for a full 24 hours once or twice a week, okay? Now, a study showed that this type of fasting, people who follow this type of fasting over a period of 6 months, they really, really reduced their bad cholesterol level, okay? So it's quite difficult for you to go a whole day without eating, but the results are quite beneficial, okay? So most people fast from breakfast to breakfast or lunch to lunch, okay? And this version of intermittent fasting can be quite extreme because you can experience things like weakness, headaches, you know, when you get hungry and you are angry. So what we call that now, being hungry, right? So you can also experience things like that, and also low energy as well, okay? Now, the 24-hour fast is very, very similar to long-term fasting, okay? Now, for long-term fasting, you are not eating for 3 days straight and more, okay, and or longer, okay? Now, the idea of you not eating for multiple days in a row can, you know, seem very overwhelming, but if you actually do it safely, it's one of the best types of fasting you can do for your body. Your body will just reset and, you know, you would achieve your wellness goals, okay? So when you take a break from eating for about 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, even up to 21 days, so people do that, your body sort of goes into survival mode, okay? And you have to start using up all of your stored nutrients, fats, minerals, everything, okay? So it's kind of a next level intermittent fasting, okay? And if you want to fast like this, then you only take water, unsweetened tea. So if you take something like green tea or you take something like Lipton tea, then you don't add any sweeteners like milk and sugar and black coffee, okay? You can also take black coffee. And you can also take sea salt. The reason for sea salt is so that you can have a good level of electrolytes in your system, okay? Because in as much as sodium is not good for you as a hypertensive patient, it's important to a human being, okay? So you need sodium, just not in high levels, okay? So you can take sea salt to just keep your energy levels up so you don't faint, okay? So this is basically long-term fasting. While I was doing my research, I found out that people who engage in long-term fasting, especially if it's your first time doing long-term fasting. You really have to make sure that you are doing it under your doctor's guidance, because it's not an easy thing to do. I would not recommend that you long-term fast or you prolong your fast, over 24 hours, up to 3 days without any form of medical assistance whatsoever. Okay, so if you do have interest in going on a long-term fast, please speak to your doctor about it. Okay. All right. Now, I also wanted to discuss some data showing us the relationship between fasting and hypertension. Okay. So this is according to the American National Library of Medicine. Okay. Now, 32 adults who follow the alternate day fasting. So you fast today, you don't fast tomorrow. Okay. And your calorie intake, okay, should not exceed 500. Okay. Now, these type of people, should I say 32 people, went on an alternate day fast, okay? And they had about 400 to 600 calorie intakes on their fasting days. They managed to reduce their blood pressure by 15 to 20 millimeter per mercury. That is for your systolic readings, okay? And in 2018, 28 hypertensive patients were tested. And they also recorded lower readings. I'm talking about systolic readings now, okay? This between 10 to 18 millimeter per mercury. Okay, now we can see that these people, should I say, some people who follow alternate day fast as opposed to people who would follow a fast like your 16-18 sort of intermittent fasting, like when you fast for 16 hours and you eat for 8 hours. Or let me just put it like this: the longer you fast, the lower your blood pressure. Okay, so that's basically what this data is trying to prove to us. Okay, the longer you are able to stay away from food, the longer you're able to force your body to get into the survival mode, the lower your blood pressure. Okay. All right, and this is based on long-term fasting, which is what I already shared with all of you on the groups. The study of 1,610 hypertensive patients. Some were on antihypertensive medications, others were not. The people who were not on antihypertensive meds probably did not even know that they were hypertensive, okay? So we do have cases like that. That's a normal human being would just be walking on the road and their blood pressure is 160, 100, and they have absolutely no idea. So you should be thankful, at least you are aware, that your blood pressure is high and you need to do something about it, okay? So 313 out of this 1,610 people were not on BP meds, okay? Now, those who had readings between 140.93 dropped to 126.83. Those who had readings 160.100 dropped to 135. So that's a very, very good reduction, right? I think you would agree. And over here, we have 377 people out of that 1,610 were on antihypertensive medications. Now, these people were on 1 to 4 different antihypertensive meds at the same time, okay? Now, 23.6 of them had stopped taking their meds completely, but a greater percentage actually had a reduction in their dosage, okay? So when you actually get better, when your health improves, there is no reason for you to continue taking your BP meds. So the first step usually is to reduce your dosage, okay? Why should you be on antihypertensive meds if you are no longer hypertensive, right? And 19.4 of them had their dosage, that is, they had the same dosage, but with a further decreased blood pressure, okay? And 920 out of this 1,610 with readings below 140 also experienced a reduction in their readings. One time I had a session on blood pressure readings, and I spoke about people with blood pressures that have not gone over 140. You are not considered as a hypertensive patient. You are not even supposed to be on medications. You are just meant to fix your lifestyle, okay? So people who whose blood pressure has never risen above 140, they also experience a reduction in their readings, which is also very good. Okay. Now, all of these data that I have shared, why exactly would fasting reduce someone's blood pressure? What exactly is the science behind it? Or, what happens to your body really when you fast to the point where your blood pressure decreases? Okay. So let's talk about something that is also one of a major cause of hypertension. Okay. Now, this is the most important part of our session today, and I would like you to pay very, very close attention. Okay. So when you eat, most especially carbohydrate, sugar, your body needs to get that sugar, glucose out of the way immediately. Okay, so it doesn't roam about in your bloodstream. Now, with the way God created human beings, we have a hormone for that, and it's called insulin. Okay, now this insulin is produced by your pancreas, which is right here. I hope that you can see my blue pointer. Okay, so the pancreas produces insulin. Okay, and this insulin is a detoxifier hormone. It detoxifies your body, especially your blood, from excess sugar. Okay, now you only need 1 teaspoon of sugar per blood volume. Okay, now you have about 5 liters of blood. Okay, now the amount of blood in your entire system, you need only 1 teaspoon of sugar per blood volume. Now that 5 liter, I would say, is about 1.5 gallons. Okay, the average person has 31 teaspoons of sugar per blood volume. So I have a little diagram here to explain this. So we can take this as the amount of blood that is in your system. Okay, so this is all of the blood that's keeping you healthy, waking you up every morning, etc. Now, this is the amount of sugar that you should take per this blood volume. I'm not talking about per day. Okay, I'm talking about per blood volume now. So that is, as you are walking on the road, the amount of sugar in your blood should not be over 1 teaspoon. But a regular human being, an average person, has times 31 of the amount of sugar you should have per blood volume. Can you imagine that? And this comes from so many things. First of all, food. Okay, I'm not talking about food that you cook, but then food like that you get from outside. Okay, so probably you want to snack a little bit, your carbonated drinks, all those things that come with added sugars. Okay, it contributes to all that. So this teaspoon multiplied by 31 is about 140 pounds of sugar per year. Okay, and this is what most of us are living by. Okay, now what happens if you have such a high amount of sugar that your body doesn't need? Okay, now when you take in sugar, remember I mentioned that your pancreas would release insulin, so that insulin can get that sugar out of the way. Now, in order to assist your system, your body would also make use of that glucose. When your body converts sugar and carbohydrates, it converts them into glucose and it stores them as glycogen. So your body uses that glucose first off to give you energy, okay? But it's not your body's preferred fuel for energy. What your body would much rather prefer for fuel is fats as opposed to sugar. Okay, now when you are consuming high amounts of carbohydrates and added sugar, and your sugar level just keeps increasing and increasing, it will get to a point where your cells would no longer absorb, or should I say, it would no longer respond to insulin. It would no longer absorb that glucose anymore. Okay, so you eat, your body breaks down your sugar foods, turns them into glucose. your body uses that glucose to give you energy right away so that it can get rid of it as soon as possible, okay? Because there is a certain amount of sugar that your liver can store. And if your liver is unable to even respond to insulin to store this sugar, your sugar is just going to be roaming around in your bloodstream. It has nowhere to go. Okay. And this is where we start talking about people being pre-diabetic and, being type 2 diabetic. Okay. So glucose is in your bloodstream. Your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin does the best it can to store them in your liver, your fat cells, in your muscles, and then your pancreas will stop releasing insulin. Okay. Now, the minute your muscle, your fat cells, and your liver is unable to store this glucose, it will just remain in your blood, okay? And as I've already explained, this is when we start saying that people are diabetic, okay? And we can also say that that person is resistant to insulin. So when your body notices that, hey, liver cells are no longer absorbing glucose, what's happening? Your cells begin to die, your cells get hungry, your cells are not getting any energy, they begin to get weak, okay? When your body notices that your cells are no longer absorbing this glucose, your pancreas will start producing more and more and more insulin to meet up, just to make sure that there is no sugar found in your bloodstream, okay? And this is what we call hyperinsulinemia, okay? Emia is a medical term for blood, okay? Hyper means high, so high insulin in the blood, okay? Now, if your liver and your muscles and your fat cells become too resistant to insulin, then it leads to hyperglycemia, which then leads to pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Now, this insulin resistance is also a reason for hypertension. Okay, and I'm going to get into that in another slide. Okay, so it's a reason for a host of diseases that people suffer from today, especially cardiovascular related diseases. Okay, and I have a list here so that we can just go through this list to see some of the things that insulin resistance is causing you. Okay, and we can also note that all of this is simply because of sugar, okay? You eating way too many carbohydrates, you not having enough potassium, you not having enough antioxidants that come for your fruits and vegetables, okay? So let's just go through this list. So the first is frequent urination at night, okay? Insulin resistance could be a reason why you get up frequently at night to urinate. Frequent hunger, the need for snacks. You're always looking for one thing or the other to eat or drink, especially when it comes to sodas and at night as well. Okay, so if you have a habit of every time you're tired, you're weak, you just reach for Coke, you just reach for Fanta or things like that, okay? The need to nap after eating, okay, especially after lunch. That's why they always say when you eat heavy foods like eba, semo, amala, you just sleep right after, okay? Because if you're just taking a really high amount of carbohydrates, okay, and insulin resistant, if you are already insulin resistant, then you're just going to nap, okay? If you are not satisfied after eating, you're always craving carbohydrates, you have a very, very low endurance of fatigue. Anytime you wake up in the morning, you're just weak, okay? You are insulin resistant. Another thing again is belly fat, because when you are insulin resistant, you are not burning any fat at all, okay? It's like your sugar is preventing your body from making good use of its fats, from burning its fats. Remember, I said that your body would much prefer to burn fats, but because you have a very high intake of glucose or sugar just roaming around in your bloodstream, your cells are not absorbing it. It's going to force itself to make use of this glucose, right? Leaving the fat behind. Your fat is just storing in the adipose tissue. You are just growing visceral fat or abdominal fats, which was our topic 2 weeks ago, okay? The other thing again is high cholesterol, high triglycerides, low HDL, and high LDL, which is low good cholesterol and high bad cholesterol. Okay, another reason for this is hypertension. And I would also explain the reason between insulin resistance and hypertension in just a little bit. Okay, so if you also have a fatty liver, this is actually a medical condition. Some people, your liver is not just working as at its best. Okay, it could be also that you are already insulin resistant. Okay, PCOS for ladies, if you have a high blood glucose and high insulin, just like I've mentioned, your body is not responding to insulin. It just can't seem to get rid of the sugar or even make use of it. Okay, and you are also experiencing things like inflammation and pain, arthritis, sleep apnea, which is a sleeping disorder where your breathing starts and it stops. Okay, the next thing again is slow metabolism. Okay, your body is not digesting food as fast as it can. It's not getting you up and active as much as it should. Okay, you have a slow metabolism. You have memory problems, moodiness, low testosterone, pre-diabetes, all of these things simply because of carbohydrates, added sugar, excess sugar. Okay, so some people would suffer from at least 5 or more of all of these things that I've mentioned simply because of sugar. Okay, and not having a balanced diet. You're just having too many carbs. Because even if you don't take added sugar, but your carbohydrate level is just higher than usual, your body will still convert that into glucose. Okay, so I hope that we understand. All right, so let's move on. Let's discuss insulin resistance and hypertension. Okay, now when your cells, as I've mentioned, say your fat cells, your liver cells, when they are unable to absorb insulin, we say that they are resistant to insulin. So what happens is that your blood sugar, your glucose just roams around in your blood, right? And where does your blood flow? It flows in your blood vessels, right? And is it supposed to be there? No. So it's going to start stiffening that blood vessel of yours. Okay. Now it also increases sodium retention. Okay. Now the reason is that when you have high insulin, it inhibits your kidneys from excreting salts. Okay. So that difficulty in excreting salts leads to a higher salt concentration in your blood. Okay, and because salt attracts water, your blood volume increases. And when your blood volume increases, your blood pressure also increases. Now, when you have a high retention of sodium, it blocks the absorption of potassium. Now, I also really want to stress potassium because I've mentioned it before, but I don't think I stressed it as much as I should, to the point where you should actually take it seriously. Potassium is very important to you. Okay, some of you have reduced your salts to the point where you have a good sodium intake. What is lacking really is your potassium level. Don't just reduce your sodium, increase your potassium as well. The reason is you need electrolytes to keep you going and give you that energy that you need. And examples of electrolytes are potassium, magnesium, calcium. Okay, so your sodium and your potassium in particular, they work together. Okay, now if you want to get a good intake of your potassium, what you need really is 7 to 10 cups of vegetables every single day. Every single day. And if you know you can't do that, please look for other methods to keep your potassium level, normal. Okay, like your supplements and your antioxidants. Okay, so instead of just focusing on your sodium, start thinking of ways that you can also increase your potassium. That would also help your body to get rid of the sodium. Okay, So the next thing is vasoconstriction. Oops, I have a chat. Mr. Victor, I really think you need to connect your audio. Okay. All right, so the next thing is vasoconstriction. So when you have that excess sugar in your bloodstream, it's going to constrict your blood vessel, okay? Because your blood vessels in nature, they are elastic. They are not supposed to be so stiff. And it's what pushes your blood forward, okay? That's what makes, your blood move, really. So if it's constricts, or if it's constricted, then your blood is not able to flow properly. That's why this is really a problem. Okay, so I hope that we understand now the relationship between you being insulin resistant and it leading to hypertension. This, honestly, this concept of insulin resistance could be a whole webinar on its own, okay, where I would just take an hour and 30 minutes to just really, really break it down. But I hope that you have gotten the points. So for some of you, your problem may not be cholesterol or fats. Your problem is sugar. Okay, and you need to do that. In fact, 3 things: salt, sugar, and flour. These 3 white things, they are not friends to you. You are an enemy, or they are an enemy to you. Flour, salt, and sugar. Okay, so take note of these 3 things. Sugar in itself, or just excess carbs, especially with our Nigerian diet, so many different carbohydrates. If we don't eat about this afternoon, you're going to eat rice the next, as lunch the next day, or you take potatoes. Okay, so if you are having problems figuring out what to eat or having a good intake of other nutrients, simply purchase the meal plan to help you figure all of that out, okay? Because insulin resistance is a real cause. Some people would even term it as the real cause of hypertension, because so many people taking so much sugar, okay? And we don't do anything about it, okay? I remember a client once, that's specifically for group 6, for those of you who are in group 6, when someone dropped a wellness review, he made mention that he gave up carbonated drinks to help him, okay? So I'm not saying that you should do the same thing, because some of you may not be able to do it, okay? But it's something that I would highly, highly recommend that you consider, or at least reduce, strongly limit your intake of added sugar. Okay, let's start from added sugar before we then talk about carbohydrates in our diets, and all that. Okay, so I hope that we are together. So we have discussed insulin resistance. We have discussed its link to hypertension, and we are about to discuss really why exactly fasting reduces high blood pressure. Okay, and it's simply because it can tackle this insulin resistance. Okay, so since insulin resistance is caused by eating too many carbs, you eating frequently. I know some of us eat more than 3 times in a day, and I don't think you need to eat more than 3 times in a day. Okay, some of us have excess body fat, lack of physical activity. All these things play a role in someone just being insulin resistant, okay? So how do you then tackle insulin resistance? It's just by, flipping it, just reverse the process, okay? Stop your body from having to produce more insulin than it needs, because your pancreas is producing more and more and more, right? Simply because it can't get your body to just do away with that glucose. So it's just producing more and more and more insulin. So if you want to reverse insulin resistance, stop your body from having to produce more insulin than it needs. Okay, now with fasting, you get 60% results. With a healthy diet only, you get 20% of the results. Okay, and with a healthy diet, specifically the keto diet now, okay, plus intermittent fasting, okay, you would get 90% of the results. Okay, So I think what you should be thinking about is how can I fast and also eat properly? At the times when I am not fasting, okay, how can I make use of my eating times to eat a healthy diet? Okay, that's what you should be thinking about. So enhancing your results. Now, it's not just you eating properly and you fasting. You also need to increase, or should I say enhance your results if you want to anyway. And you can do that by exercising. Walking is the best exercise for you. Okay, and I'm saying for you because I know the age bracket of my audience. So if you are above age 30, walking is the best exercise for you. Okay, so you can add exercise, lower your stress. I know many of you are stressed out and trying to provide for your family. Well, anything that you can outsource, please outsource it, or you increase your energy to meet all of the things that you have to do in a day. Okay, get more sleep and also get plenty of nutrients like your zinc, your vitamin D, your chromium, your potassium, and your magnesium. Now, all of these nutrients, okay, are also contained in this simple multivitamin tablet here. In addition to your healthy diet, it meets 100% of all of your nutrient needs, okay? And this specific vitamin is found in the wellness supplements. So when you have this, if you add these ways for you to tackle your insulin resistance, in addition to your fasting and your healthy diets, you're going to get 90% of the results. Okay. So I really hope that we are together and that we understand. Now, a very common question that I would get really is, does fasting lead to ulcer? The simple answer to that is no. It's a simple health misconception. Okay, if you fast, you are not going to get ulcer. Many of you fast 30, 40 days, even 3 months for religious purposes, and you don't develop ulcer, do you? No. Okay, so ulcer doesn't come from you fasting. Okay, it's simply caused by H. pylori bacteria. Now, what happens if you fast, or should I say, if someone fasts and at the end of the day they get ulcer? We should ask ourselves, what did the person do in their fasting and non-fasting window? So when it's time for you to eat, do you then gather all of the food you should have eaten that day, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? So let's say you fast 6 to 6, right? 6 in the morning to 6 at night, and it's 6 p.m. and it's time for you to then eat. Do you then get your breakfast and your lunch, and including your dinner, for you to then eat everything at once that you've eaten for that day? No, you eat what you can at the moment, right? The next thing is the times when you are not the times when you are fasting. What do? Do you go out, you drink, you smoke in the name of it's not going to break my fast? Okay, so if fasting would lead to a person having ulcer or developing ulcer, we should ask ourselves, what really did the person do in their fasting and non-fasting window? Okay, so who should not fast? I would not recommend that ulcerative patients fast. Okay, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, I would not recommend you fast either. If you're above age 65, I know I have a few aged people here as a part of my audience. So if you're above age 65, please, I wouldn't recommend that you do fast. If you have low blood pressure, we are saying that fasting decreases high blood pressure, and you are already struggling with hypotension, I wouldn't recommend that you fast, okay? Because it would just further reduce that blood pressure of yours, okay? If you also struggle with eating disorders, I wouldn't recommend you fast either, okay? So let's move on. Let's talk about some fasting tips for hypertensive patients. Now, if you do decide to fast, okay, your medication, some of you can take your meds without having to eat a meal. Okay, if your doctor or your pharmacist or your nurse told you that you can do that, you can take your medications without having to eat, go ahead. Okay, However, if you are on any sort of supplement whatsoever, please, they should be accompanied with a meal. Okay. Now, I would actually recommend that if you are fasting, okay, we'll get to that. Let me not say that now. Okay. But your supplements, please accompany them with a meal. Okay. Your eating, the amount of times you eat in a day should not exceed 3 times. You have no business eating 4, 5, 6 times a day. Okay. And I also would not recommend, like I've mentioned earlier, you going on a long-term prolonged fast without your doctor's guidance. Okay, I really, really would not recommend that. So please, if you do want to have that long-term fasting that will give you more results, please speak to your doctor first. Okay. All right. So which fasting method can I adopt to lower my blood pressure? The best I would recommend to you is a time-restricted intermittent fasting, which is what most of you are already familiar with, okay? And it's the simplest fasting that you can do. So let's talk about some simple basics in this time-restricted intermittent fasting, okay? So you can take water, you can take your tea, you can take your coffee, and you can also take your supplements. I would highly recommend that you do have supplements to keep you and your body, at an optimal energy level, okay? Because when you fast, the chances are that you are probably going to get weak at some point, if you are like me anyway. So having supplements that you take, especially accompanying a meal, would help supplement for all those times that you would feel weak or that you would need to eat, or that your electrolyte level has already been depleted, or your body has used up some form of energy. Okay, your supplements would help you in that area. Okay, now this type of fasting, you only eat when you are hungry. Okay, allow your body to tell you when it is time for you to eat. You have to also ignore slight hunger, like 8 a.m. hunger. Okay, now most of you have experienced something like this when you wake up in the morning, around 8 o'clock, 8:30, you're already feeling hungry. Okay, that's simply because cortisol, it's a stress hormone, it spikes hunger at that hour, and usually it passes. Okay, so when I fast, I'm usually hungry around that period. And that's when I really, really, really want to eat. But after a while, I realized that I don't feel as hungry anymore. Okay, so you only eat, ignore all those slight hunger feelings, and you eat when you feel strong hunger, like when you start to experience lightheadedness, weakness, little fatigue, then you know, okay, your body really needs food at that moment and you can eat. Okay, now your body really would start going from sugar burning. It would use up all of its sugar. Okay, that 31 extra teaspoons that you have. Okay, it would use up all of them on energy. Okay, just remove all that glucose energy and switch to its preferred, fuel, which is fat. Okay, and this would then lead to weight loss. Okay. So let's continue with some more basics. Now, when you are starting this intermittent fasting, 3 times a day is enough. Okay, when you are starting, okay, you work your way. I wouldn't recommend that tomorrow you just say, I want to start doing intermittent fasting. I'm going to start taking 1 meal a day starting from tomorrow. Start with your 3 meals, but then keep away from snacks, biscuits, carbonated drinks, all these simple things that you just cham every time you're always hungry for one thing or the other. No snacking. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is to seriously lower your carbohydrates and eat more of healthy fats and lots of vegetables. Okay, vegetables will help to reduce your hunger. Okay, it contains lots of fiber, so it's going to feed all those microbiomes that are in your guts that signal hunger to you. So it's going to keep them busy. Okay, so vegetables, really, really, really important. Okay, your electrolytes again as well, to give you energy, prevent all those unnecessary headaches so that you are not hungry. Okay, you're not hungry and angry at the same time. But when someone talks to you, you just get angry immediately simply because you're hungry. Okay, so your electrolytes, your calcium, your potassium, your magnesium, they would help to prevent all of those things for you in your fasting hours. Okay, and if you do all of these together, then it would help you work your way into 2 meals a day and then 1 meal a day. Okay, this intermittent fasting, most of you already do it. Okay, but I would not, because you are meant to eat 8 hours within 8 hours. Your eating time should be about 8 hours. Okay, so we are fasting for the other 16 hours. Okay, so during those 8 hours, you can eat 3 times a day, right? You can have your breakfast, you can have your lunch, you can have your dinner, and you stop eating by 6 p.m. So let's say your eating times can be within 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Anything that is not within 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., no food. Okay, so that's just basically an example. All right, so we have only 2 more slides to go. We are almost done. I didn't want this to be above 1 hour. All right, so aside you just being hypertensive, intermittent fasting also helps a lot of things. Obviously, the obvious thing is it helps with insulin resistance, okay? It also promotes weight loss and visceral fat, which is what we talked about, abdominal obesity 2 weeks ago, right? I hope that you remember. So it can promote weight loss. The reason is that you are then using that fat that your body is just storing up. You are forcing your body to make good use of it, and it will. And it would love to make you good use of it as well, because it's your body's preferred, energy source. Okay. The next thing is it's going to reduce your body pains and inflammation. So those of you that have knee pains, back pains, neck pains, it would help. Okay. And it can also build new stem cells naturally for your immune system. Okay. It reduces bad cholesterol and sugar. It promotes your heart health. It also prevents brain diseases, aging diseases like Alzheimer's. And a really, really interesting thing is that 14 days into your intermittent fasting, you actually reduce your liver fats by 15%, which is really, really good for those of you who are at risk for a fatty liver or liver disease. I think that is important information for you, okay? However, I must say, you seeing results with your fasting can take up to 3 to 8 months. Okay, so you have to be very, very patient with yourself. Okay, and being consistent with it. So I wouldn't recommend that you do any fasting that would be too rigorous for you, or something that will cause you to go on a hunger strike. I wouldn't recommend that. Okay, so the 16:8 type of fasting, which I have already explained, is the best that you can do for yourself, especially as someone who is just starting. And most of you already do that for your religious purposes. So you might as well continue or extend that time that you do your religious fasting. Just extend it for your health. Okay. So that's basically all that I have for you today. I have one more thing to share, but I would like to take questions first. Okay. Would you recommend glucose to a hypertensive patient? If you do need glucose, well, you would need glucose. Okay. It does serve as an energy source for you. But I don't know what you mean. Is it a type of glucose where those ones that you lick? Okay. Because you already have glucose. Okay, right from your meals, right from your rice, your yam, your potato, your eba, all of that is glucose. Okay, so you already have that. Yeah, you can take glucose, but I would just recommend lower your sugar. That's the whole point of today. Lower your sugar, and intermittent fasting can help you lower your sugar level. All right. Is workout in a treadmill considered as walking? Yes, absolutely. advice on fasting methods in terms of fasting period. I think I've already explained that. Did I answer your question, Mr. Anthony? Mr. Anthony, have I answered your question already in this session? Thanks for this. Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, now I actually have something else to share. Okay, now this concept of intermittent fasting, when I was researching on this, I found so many interesting things. Okay, and there is a lot that I have to share with you. Okay, now I decided to put together sort of a guide of intermittent fasting to help you eat. Okay, I wouldn't really recommend like different times or strict times for you to eat, like you must eat at 8 p.m. or you must eat at 3 p.m. No, but I would give you a 1 month plan. Okay, 3 times a week. 3 times a day for you to eat. Okay, I will tell you what you should eat during those times, okay, of the day. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, as you are going further and further into your intermittent fasting journey, you then lower the amount of food you take in a day. So from 3 times a day, you would skip breakfast, eat lunch and dinner. Okay, so I will give you a 1 month keto plan. Now, this is not going to be like your DASH diet. This is mostly going to be a good reduction of your carbohydrates. Okay, because in your DASH meal plan, I still included carbohydrates. But in this keto plan, you are going to, it's a strict form of meal plan, should I say. Okay, now I'm going to put in more of protein-rich foods, okay, vegetables, minerals, and also some carbs, some carbohydrates that you can eat. Okay, I'm going to also get into like teas that you can take, like green teas and ginger teas, and how you can prepare them to assist you when you are just starting in this your intermittent fast. So you can take your teas when you feel that slight hunger. Okay, and I'm also going to be sharing some mistakes people make when they are fasting, how you can prevent them. And also, some people have mentioned to me, Rita, do you have a weight loss form of guide or something like that? And I know that is very important to you as hypertensive patients. Your weight matters a lot in relation to your blood pressure. Now, I really don't want to go into weight loss simply because it's very tricky and so many people respond differently. So what I'm going to do is, for this intermittent fast, I'm going to put in this meal plan how you can optimize the meal plan for your weight loss. Okay, now, usually when people are trying to lose weight, I would recommend that you work one-on-one with the person who is trying to help you lose weight. However, this meal plan, as opposed to the DASH diets, I would put it in a way where you can use it if you are looking to reduce your weight, okay? And that means basically you would lose weight over time, okay? So before I get into it, let me know, is this something you would be interested in? Because I have not put it together, okay? I just said, okay, let me just come on the session first off and ask you if this is something that you would like me to dedicate my time, my research, my knowledge into giving you before I then start putting it together. Okay, so please let me know if is this something that you would be interested in. Would you like me to go ahead with this? Let me know. Okay. Rita, I learned that breakfast is more important than the other two. How true is it? Yeah, breakfast is actually very, very, very important. It's like your first meal of the day. Okay, it's what gets you started. Usually when I eat my breakfast, I don't even take lunch. Okay, because I'm satisfied all through. Okay, but you can skip your breakfast. Okay, if you fast during that morning period when you are awake, you are just waking up from sleep. Okay, if you fast within those morning hours and you take your lunch, it's easier for you to get through the entire day, you know, when you are tired and all that. Okay, so breakfast is important, but you can't skip it. Okay. Obviously, like I've said, as you are starting, I would not recommend that you go off it, that you just start skipping your meals just like that. I'd recommend start eating 3 times a day first. Okay. All right. All right. So thank you. Yes, Mr. Cletus, I've already explained. Yes, walking on a treadmill is equivalent to walking out in nature. Okay. So yes. Okay. So I would put the intermittent fasting plan together for you. Okay. However, it's not going to be for free. Okay. Now, this is equivalent to the meal plan, but I have a special offer to all of my wellness clients. So if you have ever purchased a wellness pack from me, even if it's one wellness pack, I would give you this intermittent plan for free. Okay. So I would say it's my way of treating you specially as opposed to everyone else. So you have this for completely free. Okay. And your meal plan. Now, if you've purchased the Dash Diet meal plan, I would give you a 50% discount when I put this all together. Okay. So if you purchase wellness pack before, completely free for you. Okay. And if you have purchased the meal plan, that is a Dash Diet meal plan, you have a 50% discount. If you've not purchased any of them, then you can simply purchase this one if you are interested in it, just for 5,000 naira. Okay. And the price would not be increasing. We don't have any deadline. Okay. So whenever you are ready, if you are interested in it, no problem. So I would put this together latest by Friday. Okay, so that you can start having your copies. Okay, so if you've purchased the wellness pack, please send me a message if you'd be interested in it. If you'd like me to send you a copy when it's ready, no problem. Okay, I will just send it right to your email. The reason I want you to tell me if you'd be interested in it and not just send it generally to everybody is, I want to know who watched this session. Okay, I want to know who actually did watch this class and stay till the end. Okay, so just let me know. I'll send you a copy when it's ready. And if you've purchased the meal plan, the Dash Diet meal plan, you paid 2,500 instead. Okay, so I want to start treating you all specially, especially my wellness clients. So probably I should do this more often, right? Do you agree that I should treat you specially, my wellness subscribers and my Dash Diet meal plan subscribers? Okay, so we'll basically come to the end. Okay, but you already have a free delivery. So your special treatment started from when we first met. It should be free for those who purchased the meal plan. Well, I thought about it, but I think those who also purchased the wellness pack should have it free, while I put a 50% discount for the meal plan. Okay, so I did think about putting it free also for those who purchased the meal plan, but I decided to go with the 50% discount instead. Okay. Oliver Twist. Well, yes, I did give you all a free delivery. If not, you should be paying, for those of you staying in Lagos, you should be paying 1,300 for your delivery fee. Those who stay in Abuja, you should be paying 2,700. Those who don't stay in Lagos or Abuja, you should be paying 3,000 and above. So I already covered all of your delivery fees. Okay. Mr. Paul, you're still owing me Dash Diet payment supply. You paid for the Dash meal plan and I didn't send it to you. Is that what you're asking? If so, I would just send you a copy. Okay. Yes. And even those of you who have purchased wellness packs like 3 times and above, I even go as far as giving you free gifts. And some of you even have like 10% discounts on your 3rd purchase or your 4th purchase. So I think I give you guys enough treatments. So probably I should even put like a deadline to this. Should I say to the 30th of April? Should I increase the price after the 30th of April? Because I already treat you specially with your free delivery and your free gifts and your discounts and all that. Okay. But I will just leave it this way. Okay. It's free for you if you are on your wellness supplements. Okay. If you've ever purchased the meal plan, you have a 50% discount. Okay. So please give me feedback on this session. Do you think I explained this very well? Are you happy with, all that you've learned today? Did I meet your expectations? Did you get value? Do you think this was worth your time? Was I talking too much? Did you understand, especially the concept of insulin resistance? Did you actually understand what I was trying to say in that aspect? Okay, so please let me know. You're welcome. Okay, thank you so much for letting me know. So what do you think our next topic should be? What do you think our next topic should be? We've talked about obesity, abdominal obesity. We've talked about fasting. We've talked about sleep. We've talked about stroke. We've talked about your BP medications. We've talked about your readings. What else have I? What do you think our next topic should be? What would you really like me to talk about, so I can prepare for our next week's class? I would like to make this a weekly sort of sessions, okay? So probably every week, if I'm too busy, every 2 weeks, okay? So do you have any ideas on what you'd like me to talk about? Is there something on your mind that you'd like me to touch on? You're welcome, everyone. So just let me know and I will prepare for it, okay? You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm happy that it was valuable to you. Okay. Headaches. I think I've talked about headaches, haven't I? I think I have like slides. Sometimes I do slides. Sometimes I do like one-off posts. And sometimes I do like live. Yeah, I think I've spoken about headaches in carousels. Mr. Cletus says the concept of calorie values was not well comprehended by me. Okay, now for calorie values, I wouldn't recommend that you do that type of fasting because it would be either alternate day or the eat 5 weeks, fast 2 times a week. Okay, that's the time where you would start to watch your calories. Okay. Now, for that calorie, when we say 300 to 600 is basically one meal. That is, you're eating one meal a day. Okay, so that's basically what we mean by that. Usually, it would be 3 meals a day to give you all of that energy that you need to take you throughout the day. But I would not recommend that you do that 5:2 sort of fasting or alternate day fasting. What I'd recommend to you is the time-restricted intermittent fasting, which I've already explained, okay? In that type of fasting, you are not really watching your calorie intake. The whole point of the fasting is you allowing your body to tell you when it is time to eat, when it needs food, okay? So you start eating 3 times a day, but the difference is you are eating very low carbohydrates, more of your proteins, more of your vegetables, okay? So as you start to eat your 3 times a day, no snacking in between, okay? And you basically eating between certain hours and fasting between certain hours, your body will begin to get used to it, and then you can start skipping your meals, okay? So probably when you wake up, you don't feel so hungry or as hungry as you used to be, okay? And let's say when you start to feel hungry, will start being by noon, lunchtime, so you eat your lunch, okay? And probably the next time you feel hungry is by nighttime, so you take your dinner, okay? then probably your body gets even more used to it. Okay, and the only times you feel hungry is probably you will just need food about one time a day. Okay, so for your calorie restrictions, I would not recommend that you do that sort of fasting where you are strict with your calorie intake. Okay, the reason is when you are just starting out, the 16:8 is the best plan for you before you start exploring other sorts of, fasting methods that are out there. Okay, so for you right now at this stage who is interested in having an intermittent fasting, I would recommend you start with that. Okay, so I hope that I've explained better, Mr. Curtis. Okay. Okay, Mrs. Lola, will the wellness supplements assist in insulin resistance? Yes, astaxanthin actually reduces your sugar level. Okay, so yes, wellness helps with that, especially when you are insulin resistant and you want to start intermittent fasting. Your supplements would supply all of that energy you may be lacking from your meals. Okay, so that's the way your wellness would help. Remember, I mentioned certain things that can also enhance the effects of your intermittent fast. Okay, the essentials are you having minerals like chromium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. You get all of that in your vitamins. I also mentioned you eating healthy fats. Okay, you get that from your omega-3. Your astaxanthin is an immune booster. Okay, so that's the way wellness can help you. The simple answer, the straightforward answer to that is yes. I'm just introducing you to insulin resistance today, okay? But even if I did the webinar based on insulin resistance, it's still the same effects that it will be having on you, okay? So I hope that you understand. I hope that I explained that very well. Let's take a look at the side effects of having blood pressure for a long time. That's for my next class. Okay, the reason I laughed is because hypertension has no symptoms. You can be hypertensive for 20 years and you wouldn't feel anything. What would really bring you down is your medications. Okay. So some people, they're hypertensive, but they will never know until they die and they do an autopsy and they see that this person had a reading of 160. Okay. So hypertension in itself, it has it doesn't have any symptoms, except if your blood pressure is really high to the point where you start experiencing headaches and weakness. But aside that, what you feel as a hypertensive patient is the effect of your medications, because your medications, this is a whole other topic. But it contributes to oxidative stress, okay? And that's really why you have those side effects. So it's not much of a topic, but I appreciate the recommendation, okay? Are we having the recorded? Yes, absolutely. You would have the replay. Thanks so much. I've been away because of health issues. Well, I hope that you are doing very well, Mrs. Regina. What about water fasting for the whole day? Basically, that's a 24-hour fast. Would I recommend it to you if you are just starting? No. Okay, I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, that's just a simple, straightforward. That's just a simple, straightforward answer to it. You can, if you've been doing it in the past for religious purposes and you are able to, there's no problem. Okay, but I'd recommend that you do get at least a meal, even if it's one meal in. Okay. Also, because some of you, I know, are medications. Okay, and if you are taking your supplements, then you must eat. Okay, I wouldn't ever recommend that you take your supplements, be it wellness supplements or other supplements on an empty stomach. Does that mean you can take supplements when fasting without eating? No. Whenever you are taking supplements, they should be accompanied with a meal. Okay? But supplements would definitely help you in that fasting period. Okay? To keep you active so that you don't experience fatigue, headaches, all those things that come with a human being just being hungry. So you won't experience all of that. Okay? They would supplement all of your energy needs, okay, and your nutritional needs for the day. Because I always say this, every day you need a certain daily nutritional requirements. And if you don't meet that, you are setting yourself up for things like high blood pressure. Okay, so even if we want to fast, let's also make sure that at least nutrition-wise, we are covered. Okay, so that's how your supplements would help you in that aspect. Okay. All right. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Can we end the session now? Any other questions? Can bay leaves clear calories? Do you mind explaining what you mean by clear calories? What do you mean by clear calories? Anything else? Drinking it as tea. Okay, so like when you take bay leaf tea, does it help you burn fats? Is that what you're trying to ask? Okay, it may be able to help you, okay, simply because it will serve as a detoxifier, okay? However, you burning fats, there is a lot of things that go into play when it comes to fat loss, okay? So I wouldn't say that if someone takes bay leaf without doing anything else, would it help the person to lose weight? No. So many people today take green tea and they don't lose weight, okay? So it would simply help you as a detoxifier. And you can enhance that effect of your bay leaf tea or your moringa tea, all these teas that just help to detoxify. You can enhance their efficacy by exercising and also fasting. Fasting is also one of the very good ways, you know, towards fat loss or weight loss. Okay. So you can definitely enhance it, but I wouldn't say that independently it would help you lose weight. No. Okay. Anything else? Am I free to go? Am I free to stop recording now? Remember our gift? Yes, I would work on it. Since you've given me permission to, I will start working on it by tomorrow. Okay. And if you need one, just let me know. If you bought wellness, it's free for you. If you bought Dash Diet New Plan, you have a 50% discount. Okay. Even if it's not free, and even if you don't have that 50% discount, I think that is pretty much affordable. And I'm not putting any deadline to it. Okay. So whenever you are financially capable, if you are interested in having that, I would provide it for you. Okay. All right. So take care, everyone. Good night. I wish you all the best of health. Thank you also for joining me every time that I have these live sessions. You really don't have to still be here after the webinar, okay? But thank you for being a part of my audience still, okay? And giving me a listening ear anytime that I talk. So I really, really, really appreciate you being here, okay? And I'm also doing my best to make sure that at least your health improves, okay? So take care of yourself. I'll see you next week by God's grace when I think of a topic to discuss, okay? So take care of your families. Bye.